This is the Halo TV series. We'll be doing a review going over the first two episodes, which were provided to me by Paramount. It is hard to talk about an overall season just by basically seeing two of the episodes, but we'll be trying to do so, giving you context into the series and an understanding of what it has to offer. So be sure to like the video, subscribing is great as well, and if you'd like to see me cover the additional Halo TV series episodes, let me know. So this will be a Paramount Plus exclusive launch, and it may be available in other markets and other regions in different ways. I have no idea. I just know that it will be launching on Paramount Plus. So this follows the story of the Master Chief in a very different way from what you might know. So again, I was provided two episodes, which gives some context into the start of the origins of this series. Overall, I believe there's going to be 9 in this first season, and there's already been confirmed that a second season is on the way. So this is something that they are investing in long term, and whether or not you're fully behind it, there's going to be at least 2 seasons of this show. So initially, I really didn't have the highest of expectations. I went in with very, very low expectations in this, especially with the state of, Halo in the general current era. Anyways, past that, I actually did really quite enjoy it. It's not like the greatest TV show ever created, but if you're a Halo fan, you're really actually genuinely going to have fun with this. I really was pleasantly surprised by what this had to offer. So the first thing I should note though, if you are hardcore about the Chief and his helmet being on, do not expect a lot of that. So there was about an hour and 40 minutes worth of showtime. I think the episodes are like 50 minutes each, but with credits, opening, everything like that. About an hour and 40 minutes. And I counted about, for the first good 40, 50 minutes or so, the Master Chief keeps that helmet on. But after that, there's 50 minutes of time, a total of 50 minutes of time, I counted it, where the Master Chief has his helmet off, or his helmet's like in the distance, or he's holding his helmet. He's in like dangerous territory, but that guy will not put on his helmet. Pablo Schreiber needs that FaceTime, which was kind of funny, but it's not too bad. So what this does is this follows story Halo-wise before kind of where the game takes place. So this is obviously an alternate sort of like history, a different timeline. So it doesn't follow the canon of the books, the games, anything like that, which is immediately apparent when you go in and start watching. Now, this does actually start with a really big bang. It's very, very exciting. It's visceral, it's intense. I'm not going to really spoil things, but this opening is to show you that the Covenant are ruthless. The insurrectionists, which are what the UNSC was kind of dealing with, they are, problem causers. They're talking amongst themselves. You get an idea, and it kind of builds the legend of what the Spartans are. So Master Chief, Spartan 117, John, is a big mythological character within this universe. He's morale, he's hope, he's inspiration to all of the different troops of the UNSC in the battle against the Covenant. That's who he is, that's what he does. So you follow him with Silver Team, which is actually a pretty funny, cool squad, and you're kind of getting an idea of the myth. So it follows the perspective of this young woman, and they actually do a better job here, I think, in the pair-up duo of humans with Chief than they did in Infinite with him and the pilot. So he's kind of paired up with this young woman that has to deal with basically seeing her insurrectionist group of individuals just get absolutely massacred by the Covenant. Like, the elites come in and they are ruthless and savage. And the CGI around them isn't very good unless it's a close-up. But anyways, but the thing is that's really cool here is it just kept hitting with these moments where as a fan I was like, oh, and I was trying to like turn the fanning off of it, like just how much of a fan I was of like the Halo series, because it's got the sounds. Master Chief sits down and you hear the the shield sound, and it's just like when they do invis, it makes the invis sound, and when they're shooting the guns, all the guns sound right. And some of the comments like characters make are really accurate and shows the brutality of the energy sword. But the whole point of this opening is to really add like a shock value to show, hey, the Covenant don't mess around. But also the Spartans are gods amongst regular humans. It tries to show a balance of like this savagery and also heroism as you see the Master Chief come in and deal with this scenario. It's really action-packed, it's intense, and it's so good. Like, it was kind of a quiet, calm opening with a group of kids going out into the outback. They're not supposed to be out there. And then it just, once it hits, it's like, whoa. It's really intense, good explosive, and like seriously, it's gory and it's mature, and I was like, that is exactly the type of opening this thing needs to kind of get things exciting and get things going. And I'm like, okay, this is really cool. I'm kind of on board now. And then they kept hitting me with like some of the iconic sounds. Now they do some like first person sequences just in that beginning there. Those are really cheesy and a little silly, but you know, it's fun. It's kind of easy going, I guess. But the idea is these elites are crazy monsters. And this is a show where you get to see multiple perspectives. So I didn't get to see a whole lot because again, it's 2 episodes. It's going to be like, what, 9 hours? Just under 9 hours because they're like 50 something minutes each. So I've seen only a portion of this. And it really set up the stakes of who the Master Chief is as a character, like what he believes in, and then also some of his allies and the other characters within the world. I guess we should start with one of the biggest things that I was always kind of really uncomfortable with is the fact that there is a human brought up by the Covenant. Now, the point of this, I would assume, from what I've seen thus far, and I'm kind of a little speculating here, is she has some emotional connections to humanity, but she's very much knows her noble mission due to the way that she talks with the prophets and how she was brought up. Because if you don't know from the Halo lore, humans are, they are reclaimers. They're able to interact with the ancient Forerunner technology, which is kind of what the Covenant are very religious about, and they have this human individual, this woman, and she is able to interact with this stuff. So I guess the whole point of having her is to give you a human perspective in with the Covenant, even though she's very much not acting like a human at all. It's kind of unnecessary, but at the same time, I'm now kind of almost behind it a little bit, because I'm intrigued to see where they take that. Because she clearly has this attachment to humanity, but at the same time very much knows that she is a high level within this society of the prophets, the elites. And that's one thing, is like it literally only showcased elites from what I saw. I don't think I saw any of the other Covenant. It was elites and prophets. The prophets look great. They really do. I got to see our good old buddy Mercy and everything like that, which was fun. So that aspect of it I'm interested in. I was really worried about it, and I'm a little less worried, but I'm still curious as to see where they go with that moving forward, because that perspective could be quite neat, seeing the human side of that kind of area, the Covenant, because you don't really get a glimpse into it, except for when you see in the games the Arbiter side of the perspective, right? High Charity looks great. The general scenes and the visuals are decently well shot. The CGI is solid. It's actually better than I thought it would be. A lot of the stuff looks quite well done. You get to see Reach. You get to see all kinds of cool places, some different human settlements. You get to set up the stage for some of the different characters, some of the insurrectionists, some of the UNSC. Hood is there, and he's fantastic and exactly like he is in the games. I would say that is the one character I truly am like, Hood is exactly like he is shown in the Halo series within this TV series. So Hood's in there. Parvati's really interesting as like this leader individual. Halsey is there. She's basically Halsey, almost perfectly done. I didn't get to see Cortana, which is a little, well, they kind of like, they show you the origins of Cortana a little bit more detailed than we get in necessarily the books and the games and whatnot. So that was really interesting how they kind of tease that. So we didn't get to the point where I actually got to see Cortana, which is a little disappointing because, it's a big part of Halo. I've been a Halo fan for over 20 years. So it's really interested and excited to see what she looks like in there. Those are kind of the key players. You got the Master Chief, you got the young woman that the Master Chief is kind of with. You've got some of these secondary Spartans. You've got a Spartan pal that the Chief kind of let get away. The Keyes family is there. I would say her father is almost very similar to the games, whereas Miranda is basically like a science type officer in this one, and not really military like, if that makes sense. Like obviously they're all in the UNSC, but it seems like she's more of a researcher now as opposed to quite like her father, and it seems like they're using them as the angle of like, hey, the UNSC does some bad things and we don't like that, and that seems to be what their sort of focused that family is. But also her father, Keyes, is very much also into the chain of command and having to do what is necessary and what is expected. So that aspect, I'm very interested to see how those two keep getting played, because those two are a little different, I would say, from the games and that story. And again, this is a different narrative, so they could do some really cool things. I quite like the performances from both of them. I think they're going to be very interesting in this show to watch and see what they do. And I hope that they do kind of push, because if you played the games, I hope that they push Miranda into more of a military type perspective, since she is supposed to eventually, reach up the ranks to quite a high, she's a very important character in the Halo 3 arc, assuming we get to that point in the show. So I hope that they push her more in that direction. So we also want to talk more about the Master Chief, Spartan 117. We talked about him not wanting to wear, he really does not want to wear that helmet, which is kind of funny. And I do have lots to say about this show. I'm very, big Halo fan, obviously. And the Master Chief looks great. The armor's fantastic. The voice didn't bother me at all. He definitely embodied the Chief fine. It's not quite as deep as and intense as you want, but it took me seconds just to get into it. I didn't have any issue at all with the voice. I wasn't bothered in the slightest. They have the classic Halo music playing at times too, which is really cool. Like the audio and stuff, fantastic throughout the show. Very well done. The sets and everything like that, the weapons, the tools, everything looks good. It feels like realistic standpoint and locations and kind of army, military and everything like that. And it's got a good sense of scale to it. But again, talking about the Chief, he's very much more conflicted than he is in the games. This is much more of a human take on the character, sort of like in the later Halo games, where you're kind of looking at the Chief as more of an individual and who he is. And it's his interactions with particular Forerunner type artifacts that really kickstarts this whole journey and crisis into what he is and what he believes in. I think that's interesting because they're showing a side of the Chief where he definitely has this responsibility and this responsibility to humanity and doing always the right thing, which is what the Chief is. But he also definitely brings the battle and the action. That guy could move around and just destroy Covenant, which is so delightful to see him, just brutally moving around, taking out those Covenant. And then also, like, there's a sense of, like, confidence that the Chief has. Like, you can always hear his boot steps and you get that kind of idea with the other Spartans too, and there's a hilarious line with the Spartans in regards to dealing with the Chief to some degree in a sequence, which was really funny. Because they're a team, they work together. It's just, there was this one moment, it was very, very funny. Again, I don't want to spoil anything, but I got a good shot out of that. So it's really about the dynamics, because you get to see the politics of the UNSC trying to deal with these things during this war that's brewing with the Covenant, because this is, again, before the book, before some of the books, but it's before the first game, essentially. And a different before Reach, I guess, as well. So if you've read some of the earlier books, I think First Strike might be the one I'm thinking of, where you're kind of getting a context into them dealing with insurgents, but it's sort of moving there. So they could potentially skip, from what I've seen, again speculating, the first Halo game almost, because they're teasing like the ring and everything like that. So they have the potential to maybe like skip past that, if that makes sense. It'd be very interesting if they do. Again, speculating here on that aspect of it, because it seems like they're taking some parts from the games that they want to, and then ignoring a lot of other stuff, which is interesting. So it definitely seems like this is going to be a bit more dramatic and focusing on Master Chief as an individual with growth, deciding is he like a tool for the military or is he his own individual. Hopefully the Cortana stuff's interesting. Again, basically saw nothing of it, only teases. Halsey kind of moving her way up and taking control of everything the best she can through manipulation, which is what she does. She's masterfully presented there. I'd say the performances are really good across the board. I don't really have any issues with any of the characters. Even at the beginning where it might be a little cheesy how it opens, I think the way they handle all of those characters afterwards is very, very well done. And I would say, again, overall, it was pretty good. Like, I didn't have problems with it, which is what I thought I was going to have. I was really worried that this show wasn't going to be very good, and I think I was pleasantly surprised that it was enjoyable. There was good action. There was a little bit of some emotional stuff here or there, not too much, but it was kind of like building that up, building towards that. So I liked what they did. I liked how the Master Chief was handled. I didn't really have too many complaints. It set up a little bit of a mystery, but as a Halo fan, I kind of know things. There's lots of little bits where it's like, again, the stealth, the Invis kind of turning on, the shield recharging, the sounds, very Halo-like. Some little references here or there, and it looks pretty good. Obviously the CGI isn't perfect, but it looks way better than I thought it would. And it brings action, excitement. It brings Halo, and I think it is a decent representation of the source material to a degree. Would I have liked a movie or a few movies? Probably. Am I disappointed in the TV show? No, I actually think it is good and watchable, and I am excited to see where they go from here. And I'm glad that they didn't drop the ball on this, or drop the oddball. Oddball taken, oddball dropped. Mostly flag taken, flag dropped. But you get what I'm saying is I was a little worried. That was my biggest thing. But I'm very happy to say it is good so far. I can't speak for the whole show. Could completely fall off the rails. I have no idea. But from what I was liking, they set up some neat stories, perspectives. I want to see more of it. And I can't wait to see where they go for the rest of the series. So again, be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. And again, letting me know whether or not you want to see me cover the additional episodes. I'd love to. And I hope you enjoyed this look at the Halo TV series. Wah, 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 wah.